the Katzenartig Imperium, the Aeternum, the Blokkat Harvesters, and the Compound. These four horsemen of the apocalypse are the powerful crises Gigastructural Engineering has to offer. In this video we're gonna find out who they are, what are their mechanics, and most importantly how to defeat them. We're starting with the Katzenartig Imperium, aka the Katzen. They originate from Paluushia, a continental world inhabited by various species ranging from the feline Katzens, amphibious zoospreys, humanoid Orcalians, crustacean Kronks, and more. The Katzen start as a primitive civilization divided into several Paluushanian nation-states. Despite their primitiveness, they have an active attack moon designed to deter any hostile invasions. Their home system Jubileo is connected to another system called Jupi-2, which hosts a psionic primitive civilization on the planet Corona, consisting of a unique skeletoid species. During mid-game, the Katzenartig Imperium, a nation led by the Kaiser Katail, will attempt a crusade to unite Paluushia under his banner. Eventually, the Kaiser will succeed, with the entire planet falling under his control. Following the Kaiser's takeover, the Imperium will undergo a period of rapid military expansion, eventually becoming a proper spacefaring civilization with very powerful fleets and a fully fledged attack moon. If you own the Jubileo system, you will be asked to return it in exchange for some resources. You can accept the deal, or refuse and prepare for war, which might end if the Katzen take the system, or continue if you still refuse to surrender. As the Imperium grows in power, the Kaiser will send out yearly demands to bordering empires, demanding territory in exchange for resources. If you accept, it's likely his opinion will increase, but if you refuse, your relations will get worse. Besides that, the Katzenartig Imperium will do several other things. They're gonna build Katzen warforges above habitable planets, which harvest resources to spawn new vessels. As soon as the Katzen begin to expand, they're gonna build various terraforming kilostructures, substellar compressors, and orbital arcologies to extend their living space. They also have their own variant of the Event Horizon Offset facility, allowing them to reach isolated systems, and a miniature version of Maginot Wells. When Paluushia reaches around 90 pops, the Kaiser will turn it into a Paluushia arcology, which has improved districts producing even more resources for the Kaiser. There is plenty of ways you can deal with the Katzen. In the communication menu, the opinion parameter shows the Kaiser's opinion, which varies between 4 and -3. If it reaches -3, the Kaiser will declare a war on you, so you should try to maintain good diplomatic relations until you're ready to face him. To increase your opinion, you can send a diplomatic attaché, which improves your relations at the cost of reduced resource output. You can also trade with the Kaiser and purchase Katzen ships for energy credits. The more expensive ships you purchase, the more likely his opinion increases. You can also make land trades and sell some bordering systems. If you select one of the following options, the Kaiser will give you a price, and by sealing the deal, the Kaiser's opinion will increase and he won't make any demands for a year. If you somehow reach their maximum opinion, you may form an alliance if you agree to all of the Kaiser's conditions. You'll be obliged to help him in his conquests and contribute naval capacity in exchange for his protection and cooperation. Aside from that, you will no longer need to worry about land demands. Keep in mind, if the Kaiser's opinion drops, he might revoke the alliance, and once that happens, you won't be able to renew it. Over time, the Kaiser will seek to further increase the alliance's bonds, and any disagreement will result in him kicking you out, severely harming your relations. If you continue the alliance, you will get more benefits in exchange for naval capacity. This process ends with the Kaiser demanding annexation, effectively ending your playthrough. Luckily, these are not the only things you can do, and there are ways to halt the Kaiser's conquest. Sometime after the Katzen become an empire, it will be revealed that they are not as united as it seems. 2 special projects will be issued, allowing you to contact the Zoosprey Vanguard and the Orcalian Freedom Fighters. After you meet the 2 groups, you can talk to them through the Katzen diplomacy menu or by pressing a button in the bottom left corner. The Zoosprey and the Orcalian groups have unique mechanics, with different ways to counter the crisis. Firstly, let's talk about the Zoosprey Vanguard. The strength parameter shows their overall capacity to resist the Kaiser's regime. You can support their cause by sending resources each month, and the more resources you send, the more likely they grow in power. Other empires are also able to contribute, so you're not in this alone. There are two operations you can conduct once their strength increases. If their strength reaches 2, you can strike the Katzen power plants in order to slow down the Katzen's ship speed and jump drives. If their strength reaches 3, you may sabotage the Katzen's supply depots to weaken their armies. If an operation fails, the Zeus Priest's strength will decrease, and it's likely the Kaiser will find out about the operation and reduce his opinion. If their strength reaches 5, you can trigger an uprising. If you decide to do this, later several events will appear, requiring you to spend influence, energy, and alloys to support the Zeus Priest, and the more resources you spend, the more likely the uprising succeeds. If you go down this path, it is recommended to assist the Zeus Priest by declaring war on the Katzen. The Rokelian freedom fighters have similar mechanics, however by contacting them you gain access to an entire map of fusion and various operations to slow down the Kaiser. The resistance resources counter represents the amount of resources which can be used for operations. To increase this number, you can spend energy credits or alloys every 6 months. You may also exert your influence with propaganda, however there is a 15% chance the Kaiser's opinion will decrease. You can also raid Katzen warehouses, which gives you 2 resistance resources, but once again there is a 35% chance of the Kaiser's wariness increasing. Katzen wariness states how much the Kaiser is aware of what's going on. By default, it decays by 1 every year, with a chance of it decreasing further or less based on the Kaiser's opinion. Every year, you can undertake several measures to lower his awareness, by bribing his officials, reassuring him with influence, or sacrificing some resistance resources. This parameter will have an impact on your operations, so make sure you keep it as low as you possibly can. If the galactic community exists, you will have access to a new resolution category about the Katzen. By recognizing various Flusian nations, partisan activity will increase in various regions, also allowing you to gain more resistance resources. You can also mobilize the entire galactic community and eventually declare a pan-galactic crusade against the Kaiser. Now that you have gathered enough resources, you can start some operations. In every region, the Kaiser has a certain amount of influence, with the highest amount in the Kataun megalopolis. Each region gives the Katzen positive modifiers, however as partisan activity increases, they gradually become worse. With each operation you can assign resistance resources to increase your chances. If an operation succeeds, partisan activity and Kaiser's wariness will increase, leading to harsher security measures. Certain regions have special missions available, which can be initiated once you meet the requirements. These missions bring disastrous consequences to the Kaiser if successful, but at the same time they're also more difficult. For example, destroying the Rockwell Chopper and Katlan Chopper dams results in an agricultural crisis on Flusion, bringing unrest and increasing chances of fringe world revolts. Similarly, if you meet the requirements, you may temporarily sabotage certain parts of the Kaiser attack moon, and if you're successful, the moon's capabilities will be drastically reduced. There are also other events that might happen during the crisis. If the Katzenartig Imperium exists for more than 30 years, Corona will transform into a Coronian worldcraft and a horde of Coronian dragons that are going to target the Katzen and later anyone in the galaxy. If the Imperium exists for over a decade, the Katzen will develop a new type of spacecraft capable of passing through defenses by hiding in subspace. If you destroy 15 of them, a special project will be issued, which unlocks a starbase building to detect those vessels. Also, after a decade, a new special project might be issued to study the Kaiser Moon's weak points. As a result, you will get a bonus damage modifier and a repeatable technology which increases damage dealt to the Katzen. The crisis can reach its conclusion in 3 outcomes. You can either invade or crack Flusion, or instead storm the Kaiser's pyramid and launch an uprising. Take into account that once you reach Jubileo, the Kaiser Moon will instantly head there, and if you destroy it, many diplomatic actions with the Kaiser will be unavailable. A couple years later, you may restore the moon and gain unique Kaiser Moon sections. If the Katzen lose their attack moon, they will rebuild it from scratch, so keep this in mind. In all scenarios, the Katzenartig Imperium will be dissolved, with its remaining territory divided between successor states. If you destroy Fusion, the rebels will be mad, and if the Rokelian Republic, Lorendar, and the Kronk realms exist, a martial alliance between them will form. If you conquer Fusion, the Flusio archaeology will be in ruin, the Rokelians will demand autonomy on the planet, and an event chain will be initiated in which you'll have to search for the Kaiser himself. If you instead storm the pyramid, you will have to face the Kaiser, and with his disappearance, the Katzenartig Imperium will dissolve. During the event, a minigame starts, in which you may conduct ground operations every 15 days. You can spread anti-Katzen propaganda to increase the rebels' willingness, issue a tactical nuclear strike to damage Katzen armies at the cost of reduced willingness, or infiltrate Katzen enemy lines. Based on the willingness of the rebels, Fusion can fall into your hands, or into the hands of the United Flusian States, which will later merge with other remaining nations. If at least two of the splinter states are a socialist, militarist, authoritarian, or a democratic state, a civil war will break out, and the winner will reunite the Kaiser's empire under his banner. Regardless of the outcome, the Zeus priests across the galaxy migrate onto their new homeworld, and if you help them organize the uprising, you will receive some resources as a reward. The Crisis has 4 difficulties, with the highest being the Infinite Improbability Kaiser, recommended for use with extremely overpowered mods. Aside from difficulty, you can also change portraits so that they're either lore accurate or more serious. Next we have the Aeternum, a million-year-old civilization, more ancient than the fallen empires. They appear as one of the 3 outcomes of the Galactic Core Hyperlane special project during mid-game. If the Aeternum are enabled, or randomly chosen as an outcome, instead of a supermassive black hole or a hyperquasar, you're gonna encounter a birch world called Aeondia. As you survey the Galactic Core, eventually you will make contact with the Aeternum. Shortly, the Eternite Intelligence Agency will be established to study the Crisis, and it can be contacted in the lower left corner. Eternite Technological Intel represents your knowledge of the Aeternum, and it can be acquired either through special projects or destroying their ships during combat. The Aeternum have various megastructures such as asteroid manufactories, particle accelerators, a Matryoshka brain, a Dyson sphere, and a star lifter. They also have a unique, safer variant of psychic hypersiphons. They only have 7 systems, however they are heavily fortified. Systems surrounding the core have 250k military power starbases guarding them, while Aeondia has additional defenses. Each hyperlane entrance is defended by guardian units, and by default 6 fleets are stationed in the system, with their fleet power ranging from 3 to 4.5 million. Just like a fallen empire, the Aeternum are dominated first, but eventually they will awaken, seeking to reclaim their lost glory. 10 years before endgame, you will receive a report of increased Eternite activity, revealing that the Aeternum are restoring their ancient infrastructure, and they might awaken in a decade. Eventually, your scientists will realize their infrastructure has glaring flaws, which can be exploited to delay their awakening. 3 special projects will appear, each costing 50k energy credits and requiring a million research points to be finished. These special projects will also increase your Eternite technological intel, and offer new operations against the Aeternum. The first special project allows you to scramble their communications. This operation costs you 500 energy per month for 3 years, and if successful, the Aeternum's awakening will be delayed by 6 years, and their ship speed will be decreased. The second one unlocks a way to bombard Eternite infrastructure. This operation is very expensive, requiring 100k energy credits and later 250 minerals, as well as 100 alloys per month for 3 years. As a result, the awakening will be delayed anywhere between 2 to 6 years. The last special project unlocks an operation to mislead Eternite Intel, in order to convince them the galaxy is much weaker than it is. The operation costs 300 influence and 75k energy credits, as well as 30% of your society research for 3 years. Similarly, their awakening will be delayed anywhere between 2 to 6 years. Also consider that these operations are not infinite, they can only be done several times, and each time their price increases. Now that you know about different countermeasures against the Aeternum, we have to talk about defeating them. After all, you can't postpone the crisis forever. If you're already prepared, you can declare a war on the Aeternum before they awaken, so they receive fewer additional fleets. If the Aeternum awakens, the opposite will happen, making them a bigger threat. In both outcomes, the Aeternum are going to start a galaxy-wide crusade to restore their former glory. Similarly to the Katzen, they're gonna build Eternite psychofabricators around shrouded wells to construct new vessels. They will also deploy Colossus ships to transform habitable planets into shrouded wells for future construction. The Aeternum have a bunch of different ship designs, visually similar to Fallen Empire ships. Their most powerful vessels, however, are Eternite plant crafts. During battle, you will have another opportunity to gain Eternite tech intel, and new operations will show up. For 10 Eternite intel, you can blind the Aeternum by sabotaging their sensors. If you destroy an Eternite plant craft, you may study them, and if you have 20 Eternite intel and the ability to make plant crafts, you can unlock the technology to restore them, giving you a substantial advantage over the Aeternum. If you destroyed an Eternite psychofabricator, studied one up close, researched neutronium armor, and gathered 12 Eternite intel, you can reverse engineer Eternite armor components. If the galactic community is around, you can access a new resolution category about the Aeternum, allowing you to start an intel gathering program, and later an anti-Eternite alliance, which can later include fallen and awakened empires. To vanquish the Eternite threat, you must conquer the galactic core and invade Iondia with ground armies. You won't be able to bombard it, as the Birch World has a shield, which nullifies all damage, but with 10 Eternite intel you can disrupt it. Nevertheless, this will be very expensive, requiring 2500 energy per month for a period of 3 years before the shield disappears. With the shield disabled, you're free to bombard Iondia and later conquer it. If you succeed, all Aeternum vessels will self-destruct, marking a conclusion to the crisis. What's left of them is their Birch World, which is now in your possession. Once the Aeternum is gone, the AIA will be repurposed, and your main goal is to study the Birch World. Because the Birch World is vastly unexplored and its technology remains poorly understood, you will receive several debuffs, which can be lowered as you explore the Birch World, and your Eternite intel increases. The Eternite intel cap will be raised to 70, and there is a chance it might increase every year. If you have 35 Eternite intel, you can reactivate or later disable Aiondia's shield with a decision. If the Kirkas Mayaka has not been destroyed, an event will allow you to repair it and later choose what to do with it. Shortly, you will be able to mount expeditions on Aiondia. This will be an opportunity to explore the Birch World, acquire more intel, and minor artifacts. At the beginning, you can pick the scale of your expedition, and the larger an expedition is, the more it costs, and the longer it takes. Expeditions have 3 parameters determining their overall success. Integrity represents the team's condition and decreases by 1 every month. If it reaches 0, the expedition will be aborted. Strength represents the ability to combat any threats, while practicality measures the team's ability to decode ancient technologies. You can add up to 5 attachments, but keep in mind they all affect one another. Afterwards, the expedition is going to start, and you can check its progress through the agency. As the expedition progresses, the team may report some unexpected findings. This includes mobile cities, civilizations, ruins, and more. This is where the other parameters come to play, as they are going to determine your chances of investigating said findings. Each finding offers additional rewards, and in some cases Eternite intel if you achieve success. When the expedition reaches its conclusion, an event will let you know how much you have explored and how much intel you've gathered. Once Aiondia is fully explored and understood, the negative modifiers will disappear, and you will be able to remove all blockers using less resources, allowing you to finally harness the Birch World's full potential. The Aeternum has several configuration options in the menu. You can choose one of the 4 difficulties, with the highest being Lux Aeternum, only available if you have the Secrets Beyond the Gates submod for ACOT. The third crisis from Gigas are the Blokkat Harvesters, a powerful intergalactic faction seeking to harvest all energy they find and incorporate it into the Block Construct, a galaxy-sized structure designed to prevent the heat death of the universe. They are probably the deadliest threat you can encounter, and the most powerful crisis from this mod. Their spawn date depends on your chosen settings, with the earliest spawn date being at game start, and the latest being 100 years after endgame. You can also select a random spawn date if you like surprises. As the spawn date approaches, you will detect an unusually high concentration of matter in intergalactic space. Shortly, the anomaly will plot a collision course with your galaxy, and you can keep track of its distance in the situation log. Once the object gets closer, a collision site will be revealed, so make sure to evacuate it if you have any colonies in there. Once the object reaches its destination, the system will be destroyed, and the Blokkat Harvesters will broadcast a transmission. The Blokkats have various ships, all of which have a different purpose. The Blokkvester is the mothership of the Blokkats, and if you destroy it, the crisis ends. However, this won't be easy, as the Vester is surrounded by a shield immune to regular weapons. Depending on the difficulty, the Vester may also revive, making the whole operation even more difficult. The Vester will also change its position and harvest systems. It can also remove or add new hyperlanes. Block dismantlers are ships primarily used for harvesting systems, and each time they will envelop the system's star and consume it, leaving only empty space. Each destroyed dismantler will be rebuilt. Luckily, the Blokkats will never have more dismantlers than the amount they started with. Aside from that, the Blokkats also possess smaller escort fleets, with their fleet power measured in millions, so overall it is recommended to use celestial warships or other powerful vessels when approaching them. If you are using a higher difficulty, the Blokkats will also have block terminators or even block obliterators. Block terminators have a ton of HP, and just like the Vester, they also have a couple lives. On top of that, they instantly destroy every colony in a system they enter. Block obliterators are the toughest ships owned by the Blokkats, with 100 billion HP and 200 lives. Obliterators also have a very powerful kill aura, deadly against enemy ships. Shortly, the Blokkat Research Bureau will be established, and this agency will be responsible for handling the Blokkat Crisis. Blokkat knowledge represents the total amount of information gathered by your empire. Blokkat Inquietude represents your level of panic regarding the crisis. It increases crime and reduces stability, but at the same time it boosts your Blokkat tech research speed. Inquietude can be increased, resulting in higher research speed and lower stability, or it can be suppressed, which has the opposite effect. New edicts are also available, which can be activated if you reach a certain amount of Inquietude, with each one offering different bonuses. Below Inquietude, there is a list of all available Blokkat-related research projects. Each research project unlocks a technology or a special project, which has to be researched in order to complete it. The first research project involves studying the Blokkvester's shield and figuring out ways to disable it. This research project will later unlock various tasks and projects to study the Blokkats. By destroying Blokkat ships, you will gain Blokkat scrap that can be used to increase Blokkat research speed or damage against the Blokkats if you complete the following research project. After you complete it, you may also use scrap to reverse engineer Blokkat components. Different kinds of components require higher or lower amounts of Blokkat scrap, and if you choose a specific category, you will get a random component from it. Compared to Blokkat knowledge, Blokkat scrap is a finite resource, meaning that if you spend it, an appropriate amount will be subtracted. If you complete the Blokkat Shield research project, an event will let you choose one of the two ways of dealing with the Blokkats. If you choose to fight them, the crisis progresses normally, and your goal is very simple: design a gigastructure to disable the Vester's shield and destroy the Vester. This, however, requires 10 Blokkat knowledge and Blokkat dimensional manipulation investigated. This research project, as well as the remaining ones, also unlock repeatables, which increase Blokkat knowledge by 1, with each iteration being more difficult to research. You can also complete research tasks to get Blokkat knowledge. You can send a science ship to a harvested system, or let your science ship be harvested by the dismantler without being destroyed by the Blokkats. Another way of gathering knowledge is destroying block dismantlers. Each block dismantler increases your knowledge by 3 until you obtain 9 Blokkat knowledge from the task. While your main quest is to assemble the destabilizer, there are also other important events that might occur. Individual Blokkats may appear on your worlds, and a research project will be added to capture them, later allowing you to conduct experiments and possibly acquire a Blokkat leader. The project unlocks the Blokkat Containment Nexus, which can be built around any planet. Once a Blokkat is spotted, you will need energy, and ground armies to capture it. If you fail, your Blokkat inquietude increases and the Blokkat escapes. If you succeed, you'll be able to conduct experiments on the Blokkat using the Megastructures menu. You can use a Blokkat to produce research or generate Blokkat knowledge. If you do that 3 times, you may figure out how to reprogram a Blokkat and turn one into a leader. Depending on the Blokkat's attitude, you will need more or less Blokkat knowledge, and the Blokkat's traits as well as leader type will be determined by their key interest and personality. Eventually, a mysterious repeating signal emanating from the Blokkvester will be discovered. If you decode it, the signal's location will be revealed, and you're gonna have to investigate the Gatso system. Then you'll need to break through Paluushia's psionic fog, and as a result a powerful psionic entity will emerge. After you defeat it, you'll have to carry out an expedition on Paluushia's surface, which also requires additional resources spent monthly. Upon completion the Grand Bunny, a protector of all Paluushias, will speak with you. You can ask her to open up her archive, in exchange for 2500 energy credits per month, until the event chain is concluded. A new archaeological site will be created, which tells the story of an ancient Paluush-Blokkat conflict. Once the site is fully excavated, a technology will be added, which should help you fight against the Blokkats. This tech also unlocks a research project to determine the Blokkat's age, which reveals that Blokkats are capable of time travel. While this may not be significant, the project unlocks a technology that will be very valuable in the future. Besides that, you can also enact a new decision, which prevents Blokkvesters and dismantlers from entering a chosen system for 2 years. After that, you will need to wait 6 months to renew the protection. Once you gain 10 Blokkat knowledge, you can start designing the hyperdimensional destabilizer. To finish the design process, you will need to complete various research projects, which require more Blokkat knowledge. The total cost of this gigastructure is 1,250,000 alloys, 700k energy, 80k unity, and 300 influence, and at its final stage it requires 3k energy and 1500 alloys for upkeep. However, if you research Blokkat temporal displacement, you can upgrade the destabilizer and equip it with chrono disruptors. This upgrade makes it harder for Blokkats to repair their shield, effectively giving you more time to strike. The activation cost for this gigastructure varies based on chosen difficulty, with the highest difficulty requiring 20 million energy. Once you activate the destabilizer, you will have 2 or 6 years with the upgrade to take down the Blokkvester. If you fail to defeat the Vester within that period of time, you will need to wait 2 years for the cooldown to be over, and then reactivate the destabilizer. This time, however, the cost will be a bit higher. If you successfully destroy the Vester, the Blokkats will be defeated. After that, Paluushia will demobilize, turning back into a continental world. You will also get an event to repurpose the destabilizer, and you can use it as an energy generator or use it as a monument, which will generate large quantities of physics research, influence, and diplomatic weight. Regardless of the outcome, it will also generate 10 Blokkat scraps per month, allowing you to reverse engineer remaining Blokkat components. While the crisis might be over, the galaxy still remains devastated by the Blokkats, but if you have Blokkat temporal displacement, you may find a way to restore harvested systems using time travel. The Intertemporal Restorator is a megastructure capable of bringing stars from the future. To build the Restorator, you need to survey the chosen system and then build the megastructure. Also, you can only do this with systems connected to a hyperlane. The Restorator costs 200k energy, 125k alloys, and it needs 500 energy for upkeep. To activate it, you will need 400,000 energy credits, and after that the system will be regenerated with a new star and celestial bodies around it. New hyperlanes will appear, and a starbase will also be automatically built. Compared to other crises, you may also join the Blokkats and help them in their cause. This will initiate a completely different event chain, with various challenges you will need to overcome. Before you choose, consider that with this outcome the galaxy will get mad, resulting in a war declaration and a ban from the galactic community at the end. Many of your leaders will go on an anti-Blokkat strike. Numerous modifiers will also appear, representing the overall willingness to join the Blokkats. At the beginning, they will be negative, but their debuffs can be lowered as you progress through the event chain. New edicts will also appear, which allow you to manage your Blokkat willingness. Having said that, first you will need to decrypt the Blokkat's language, which requires 10 Blokkat knowledge and studies involving their society. Later you have to send a message to the Blokkats, and at that moment you will have one last opportunity to change your mind. If you're still eager to join them, the Blokkats are gonna ask you to complete a set of challenges designed by them. First, you have to solve the Blokkian equations by researching 3 very expensive technologies, even if you produce over 10k research per month. Second, you have to place a blockwork power node on every colony, which can be unlocked with this research project. The last thing you need to do is construct the blockwork pylon anywhere in your space. To fully complete it, however, you'll need to research the following technologies first. In total, the megastructure costs 950k alloys, 60k unity, 20k strategic resources, and 300 influence. Later you will need to spend an enormous amount of energy credits dependent on your chosen difficulty, with the highest difficulty requiring 1 billion energy. After that, your empire will be transformed into the Blokkats, which may lag your PC a little bit. From that point on, your mission is simple: harvest the entire galaxy. You will receive Blokkat ships, including regular fleets, and dismantlers. Your entire economy will be replaced with Yota Joules, a resource obtained from harvesting systems. You can use it for boosting your ships, or assembling new ships in the Warp Crafter, ranging from block evictors to block dismantlers. Once you harvest about 90% of your galaxy, the Blokkats will speak to you, and you may undertake the final harvest, which literally ends your game, as my PC crashes every single time I try it. And the last crisis on our list is the compound. By default it's disabled, as it's kind of outdated and it can be annoying at times. The compound is a hive mind species made out of non-baryonic matter, created by the same race responsible for the Ehov and all things involved. They consider themselves to be superior life forms, and they seek to transmute the galaxy and bring perfection by wiping out regular life forms. They spawn after an endgame crisis is defeated, and at least one empire has an active Ehov. Once these 2 requirements are met, a new cluster will appear, and the compound will establish communications. Afterwards, a micro wormhole will be opened somewhere in the galaxy, allowing the compound to begin their conquest. Their reshapers will convert any star into a black hole, as well as other planets into dark matter orbs, which cannot be terraformed. What's even worse is that conventional weapons are completely ineffective against them, so even your strongest ships won't be able to defeat them. As the compound begin their invasion, you may track their progress in the situation log, and a new situation will start, allowing you to choose 2 ways of dealing with the compound. You can wait and observe them to gather additional data, or if you have quasi-negative mass reactors researched, you can pick a quicker approach. You have a year to decide, and after that you cannot choose another route. If you pick the first approach, nothing's gonna happen, but if you pick the second approach, you have to let 400 ships be destroyed by the compound. After that, the situation will advance forward, and at the end you will get 2 weapons effective against the compound. Regardless of the outcome, after the situation ends, you're gonna pick up a message hinting at a possible solution. To find it, you're gonna use the Ehov until you stumble upon a cataclysmic star. You should also send science ships only, as you will have to research a series of special projects, which at the end reveal a damaged stellar annihilator, which will uncover the compound's ultimate weakness, which is quasi-negative mass. And you will also receive a technology required to unlock anti-compound weapons. Later you may repair the Eradicator, either by spending 500 energy and 400 minerals for 48 months, or sending resources right away. Be quick however, as the Eradicator only has 6 months before it breaks. If it's repaired, the Eradicator teleports to your capital, and you may use it for your own benefit. To give the ship new orders, switch the crisis menu in the bottom left corner. You can set it to defend your capital, follow one of your fleets, attack the closest compound systems, or plot the shortest course to the Preservation Sphere. The Preservation Sphere is a megastructure, built around a white hole to shield the compound from their only weakness, quasi-negative mass, which means that if you destroy it, the compound will be defeated. To reach the sphere, you have to find a micro wormhole leading towards the cluster. Their cluster systems aren't well defended, so you will only have to deal with outposts before you reach the white hole. As the Eradicator fights compound ships, you might get some resources, or salvage fleets with compound ships. If you're fighting the compound yourself, you can reverse engineer hazard matter components, which should be even more effective. Also, if the Eradicator is somehow defeated, the ship will automatically restore itself around your capital. When the Eradicator reaches the sphere and the system is cleared out, the ship will fire a beam, effectively destroying the sphere and the compound with it. The compound and the Annihilator will vanish, and as a reward, you're gonna get a new relic, which boosts your negative mass and energy production. The Preservation Sphere can also be restored, with 50k sentient metal and quasi-negative mass, and by default it produces 6k energy and 3k negative mass, at the cost of 250 sentient metal and 1 influence upkeep. These numbers can also increase if you activated the relic, raising them to 12k energy and 6k negative mass. If you ever wish to enable the compound, you can choose 1 out of 4 difficulty levels, with the highest one being Brutal, which gives the compound significant buffs and increases the cost of the quicker solution. And this concludes the Gigastructural Engineering Showcase. If you enjoyed the videos, make sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up for my hard work. Also check out my other mod showcases and write down in the comments what's your favorite crisis from Gigas. I will see you in another video, and goodbye!